You have her ID?
Cell phone? No, I don't want to give it to you. Why do I have to?
Because my attorney said not to.
Why do I have to give it to you? This is evidence. She's under arrest. I have to go with. I have to go. I have to go. You don't have that choice. Let me help you out. No, I have to stay. Please don't do this. Don't stay. You need to grab the bags. Take the bags. Yeah, and you need to wait outside. Okay.
My husband's almost 80 years old. He can't
Yeah,
come
I
with
can't.
me.
Please, can I help? No, you can't join me there. Oh, don't do this, please.
Please.
Oh,
Someone's got to help him get home. This is terrible. You can't do this. This is insane.
Is that okay with you?
Please. You don't have to have the handcuffs on. She's not going anywhere. Please. Please.
You have anything in your pocket?
No.
Do you have anything of value in you?
No,
Does you have a necklace on? You
Wanna
can
go?
take the necklace off.
Yeah, take it off. Yeah.
And the earrings.
And the earrings. They're
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record. Okay. How is everybody? Hello, Myrna, Darkside, Dean, Eva, Doris, Deb H. How is everybody doing? Truth and Justice. I wanted to talk about a lot of new stuff in Donna Adelson's case. So there's some things that we have to go over before we hit into some of the evidence that was shown in Charlie's trial that will be pretty bad for Donna Adelson. I think it will bury her. We always think of this particular witness as a witness that's particularly bad for Wendi, but I also think it's particularly bad for Donna. So we'll go over their testimony today. Also, I have a new short up. Please check it out in my short section. But so I was just over at Patty's listening to her talk about Donna Adelson's lawyer, defense lawyer, Jackie Fulford, who I did an entire episode on, who was removed from the bench or retired from the bench because they said she had this illness or this disability, this permanent disability. Now it comes out. I was pretty sure that, or I was asking, I wouldn't say I was pretty sure. I was asking, let's put it that way, if this disability came at a rather convenient time for her to say that she had to leave the bench at the time when she was under fire for the way, for her rulings, for the way that she was on the bench, like, you know, insisted that everyone around her who worked for her had to support the same candidates that she did, particularly one in particular. And right at the time that they were investigating her, she said the end of that investigation was, oh, we're going to retire her because she has this disability. So I was asking, was she blaming this behavior on her disability? And what's come out now is Stephen Webster, who was Dan Markel's lawyer, has said on another YouTube channel that she faked cancer. So Donna really picked a lawyer as I suspected, who was quite like her. When things get tough, just lie. Just lie. Doesn't matter what you're lying about. And it makes me think that the allegations against her lawyers are true. This is part of this investigation. So the allegation is, so it's what's being referred to as the investigation in the court documents. So I'm talking about Donna Adelson's court documents. They refer to this investigation that started December 2024 and went for many months. And what they are alleging is that her lawyers let Donna Adelson use their Apple Watches and other devices to call Harvey Adelson so that she could talk to Harvey Adelson in a way that wouldn't be surveilled by the Leon County jail. They couldn't surveil her if she talked on her lawyer's devices because, of course, lawyer communications are privileged, meaning they're private. So they use that. This is the allegation. So the way they got around it, and there is a further allegation. They say the defense is totally untrue. It may be totally untrue, or we may have witnesses that testify to this, that Donna Adelson was looking to harm witnesses in this case, namely her own son, Robert Adelson. These are the names that have been brought up. Could be untrue. This is right now just the way this has been reported. Catherine McBanawa. And who is the snitch, Drina Bernhardt, who was a woman in the Leon County jail that got very close to Donna from her art class and now is testifying against Donna. They just deposed her yesterday. So let me show you. They wanted to kill her mother, Drina Bernhardt's mother, or harm. I don't know what you mean harm. I mean, I would assume that if you're going to try to harm a witness, you're going to try to harm them in a way in which they can't testify. So, meaning they've been removed from the planet. So that's how I take that. You can take that however you want it. But I did want to show you that yesterday they amended their notice of taking a deposition. And I really wonder if Donna was around for these depositions. She has a right to be there, but whether she can get permission to leave the Leon County. Oh, no, she's not in Leon County anymore. Leave the jail that she's in. Wakulla County Jail, I believe she's in. And go to these depositions. I wouldn't think so, but you don't know. You never know. Please take note that the defendant, Donald Adelson, will take the depositions by oral examination by the person below. The deposition will take place at the Leon County Courthouse, State's Attorney's Office, Drina Bernhardt, yesterday, August 11th at 2. And there was a court reporter there. So no video of it, but a court reporter. Well, maybe we don't know, but they don't make notice of a video. There was video there, but they do make notice of a court reporter. So that is all the news that's fit to print there. So the person I think that's going to be, so getting into the title of this episode, as always, of course, the witness that Donna Adelson called twitchy and red and a liar, and that's Jeffrey Lacasse, who I think is one of the best witnesses in this entire case. There's a lot of good witnesses in this case. There's Catherine McBanawa, there's Luis Rivera, there's Jeffrey Lacasse, there's Pat Sanford, all excellent witnesses. Those are the ones that come to my mind off my top of my head. If I'm forgetting someone else, it doesn't mean they're not equally good witnesses. Those are the ones that just come to mind. now. So I wanted to go over his testimony today. Yeah, I'm a fan of Jeffrey Lacasse. I think he's a great witness. He comes across, to my eye, from living on planet Earth, the decades that I've been on planet Earth, as incredibly truthful. But let me know what you think. Here he is. He also comes back. So this is the beginning of his testimony. And then he's brought back as a rebuttal witness. So take a listen. Oh, actually, one more thing. Sorry, I forgot the other thing I had set up. I'm sorry. I just wanted to show you this, and I thought this was like a really telling moment in Donna Adelson's hearing. Excuse the sound. There was not great sound at this hearing, but so we're at the end of the hearing. Let me just set the scene. We're at the end of Donna Adelson's last pretrial hearing before her trial starts August 19th, and Judge Everett asks everyone if there's anything else that they would like to address. And Jackie Fulford, who is Donna Adelson's lawyer, she also runs a funeral home in addition to being a defense lawyer. She's a former judge who, like I said, was removed from the bench or retired from the bench due to her disabilities, but really due to complaints of unethical behavior and bizarro rulings. Like she had one woman pay off a multi-$1,000 restitution by paying it off $1 every month. I mean, she would die before she could pay it all back. I mean, it goes into like, it was just ridiculous. So here is Jackie Fulford, Donna Adelson's lawyer, stands up and says yes, she has something she would like to address.
Hey, Judge, we're going to have an issue regarding space. We're not all going to fit here. We also don't want our computer screens facing cameras and the audience being able to see what's on our computer screens. I have become very old, and the font size I use is very large. And probably someone in the back row can see what I have on my computer. So we're going to need to have, I understand we're blocked by this column, right? But we're going to need to have some kind of setup where we can put our things and our defense not be disclosed ahead of time to the media and blogs and this and that. The second thing is these microphones used to have the ability that you could touch it and it would turn off. My client is hard of hearing, so she talks loud. So everything she says is going to be picked up. This one is now set up so you have to press it each time you want to mute it. And like press and hold, you got to hold it down for it to continue to stay muted. And we're going to ask if the court admin could put it back to the function where we can push it off. I don't think there's going to be any opportunity in the trial for someone to not pick up on a recording of Mr. Zellman's voice. He's very loud. I tend to be loud too. So it's not going to be a record.
Strangely, right before this hearing, and I have earphones and I have the ability to turn it way up. I mean, you just couldn't hear what they were saying. You could hear that they were talking. And this is Josh Zellman and Donna. They were all talking on full mic. And strangely, nothing got on mic. So at least, I don't know whether that mic was on or we're listening to the court TV's mic. But you couldn't hear what they were saying. They were whispering and dealing well with it. But what this lets me know is that she's very aware that this is a high-profile trial, that this is her moment, and she wants special attention. And then she says, what I don't understand here is how big is their entourage? Is there more than 3 of them? Do they have interns that are interning with them that need to sit with them in the same table? Is there a jury consultant that's coming in that needs to sit at the table? Who else is coming that won't fit at that table? So if you didn't hear her, she said, we're not going to all fit at this table. And I thought Judge Everett's response was really funny. So she wants special treatment at the trial.
Issue in our position, but it's certainly going to be a problem when we're trying to speak to our client about something because it's going to be heard.
Well, in front of the jury, definitely understand the concern that we're registering with this. When quiet, the rest can be done for the microphone and take it. If your client does need to write things down, so that way nothing's being given away, that might be the easiest way for that to be handled, but that requires the microphone. The seating set up in the gallery under the first 2 rows behind the fence, those are not going to be available to any members of the media. But as far as the font size of your computer, if you need to rearrange how you're seated at the table, so if you need a seat on the far left or my right.
Right. How can Judge Everett think of all these things? Sit on the far left. Apparently there are special screens you can put on your computer. Who just asked about the banana bread? Nicola, no, he would not be able to eat Donna's banana bread. You have to have a kosher kitchen, which includes a kosher oven, because Donna Adelson didn't keep kosher, meaning she mixed milk and meat in her oven. It would not be kosher. Dan Markel wouldn't have been able to eat any of it. This is why I think this banana bread story is a big lie thought up by Wendi Adelson, I think on the fly, that Dan asked her to babysit. I mean, he had a motion pending asking Donna Adelson to only be able to see his children with a supervisor, which Donna Adelson would have found humiliating. So kosher is a big deal. I mean, both people have to really be committed to it. I do have, actually, they're more like my boyfriend's friends, but friends who got married, and like Dan Markel, the husband became more conservative in his Judaism and now keeps kosher, and the wife begrudgingly keeps kosher with him. But they have kids and love each other, and they're very copacetic in other ways. So, but it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to take on. That's one thing that the victim impact letters talk about, is how Dan Markel felt that he could meet any challenge, no matter how difficult and no matter how much the differences between people. He felt he always could find a solution. And when you have working with someone like the Adelson family that think that any compromise is a loss, and there's so much about winning, they can't stand to lose. They have to win and win at everything. It's going to be a massive problem. I mean, when you listen to Wendi Adelson and you listen to her interrogation, if you want to call it that, or her police interview, whatever you want to call it, she complains a lot about Dan Markel, and she basically says she was a victim of him, and he was very headstrong and bossy and menacing, and she was afraid of him, etc. But she never talks about any kind of compromises or anything that she gave up to be with him, besides being in Tallahassee. It's not like she moved to Timbuk 3. I mean, you would think that they were in, Alaska or Hawaii or something. I mean, she's just a short plane flight away from her parents. But for her, it didn't have the cachet of Miami. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about this. I just thought it was ridiculous. Also, I don't think Jackie Fulford presents well in court. I don't find her likable. I don't know about you guys. I found Dan Rashbaum a whole lot more likable than Jackie Fulford. Zellman isn't bad, but she's she would turn me off as a juror. Your latex spouse, nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I baked banana bread last night in honor of Donna. And Donna, you baked Donna's special banana bread. Has anybody been following has anybody been following the latest on the mushroom murder trial from Australia? The woman who killed her in-laws' relatives, her ex-husband's relatives, with poison mushrooms in a beef Wellington. Apparently, she tried to kill her husband 4 times, and he survived, but he was sent to the hospital 4 times after eating her food. So when she invited him to this dinner, he was like, no, thanks, can't make it. So apparently they're saying they kept that evidence out of the trial because it was too prejudicial. It's like, wow, that's a pretty liberal ruling there. I don't know how many judges would go that way in America. I mean, it certainly shows a pattern of behavior. All right, here is Jeffrey Lacaste's testimony. I'm fully done all the housekeeping I had to do.
Please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
You may take your seat.
Nicola, I don't think there is such a thing as kosher style food. I mean, what kosher style food means is Nathan's hot dogs, deli food. So pastrami sandwich. I don't think any of that was served in Boca Raton at their fancy wedding. I think it's just another lie made up. She served non-kosher food and said he could live with it. It's very expensive and hard to do. So but their rabbi left in anger because he couldn't eat. There was lots of guests that could not eat at the wedding. So it's just not a thing that would exist at a wedding unless it was an extremely casual wedding, some kind of backyard kind of wedding. I mean, it would be like half sour pickles, pastrami and rye sandwiches, Nathan's hot dogs. Those kind of things are kosher style. So they bring to mind what are traditionally Jewish foods, but they're not necessarily kosher. But I mean, it's just what that did, the reason she said that is that she was saying that it was his misunderstanding, that they had already, it wasn't that she made this decision about the food against his wishes and sort of secretly. It's that she communicated to him what was going to happen and he misunderstood. That she said, he thought it would be kosher, but she said it was going to be kosher style. I mean, you see the amount of non-kosher food they eat. And I find it's very interesting that when they're having this celebration dinner for their father's birthday, that the food that they're having is paella and, I mean, just would be incredibly offensive to someone keeping kosher. I mean, everything that's not allowed in kosher diet in one dish, practically.
Please introduce yourself and spell your name.
My name's Jeffrey Lacasse. Sorry.
JEFFREYLACASSE.
How are you employed, sir?
I'm an associate professor at Florida State University.
How long have you been with FSU?
I came back in 2013. I was also there from 2000 to 2008.
Have you always lived in Tallahassee?
No, I'm from California originally. I went to Phoenix for 5 years from 2008 to 2013. Really loved Tallahassee. So when I got a tenure track job here, I was excited to return in fall of 2013.
Did you have a relationship at some point with Wendi Adelson?
I did.
What was that relationship?
We met in the fall of 2013. Apologize for my voice. I'm just getting a little water.
You can have water.
We started dating in the fall of 2013, September 2013. We dated casually in the fall and more seriously in the spring and summer of 2014.
When did the relationship end?
Well, that's a little tricky, but basically July of 2014.
All right, we'll walk through that a little more
Yeah.
in detail. During the time that you were dating Ms. Adelson,
Breathing on my.
Is that me?
I don't know, maybe we need to move it. Is it okay if I touch the microphone? I don't know.
Is this about the right distance here?
I'm not sure it's you, but I'm just
That's not-
backing up in here. I know, it's hard to get right.
Maybe if you speak up, we'll just help you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so during the time that you were together, did you become aware of Wendi Adelson's recent divorce from Dan Markel?
I did. On our first several dates, that was the primary topic of conversation.
And were you aware that this was an unusually nasty divorce?
Yes.
During the time that you were
How interesting of Wendi to want to talk about her divorce on her first dates with Jeffrey Lacasse. Doesn't that say that she feels that he's beneath her? This is someone that she feels like she's not worried about losing. I mean, the rule on first dates is not to talk about your exes, certainly not your divorce and your ex-husband, but she's going to make it not only the subject of their first dates, their first couple dates. I mean, he was picked. There's like a Mae West movie called I'm No Angel with Cary Grant, where there's a character called the Chump. Like, that's like Jeffrey Lacasse. Like, that's how I think she viewed Jeffrey Lacasse. He was going to be the chump. He was going to be the pawn. And she was going to pin this ultimately
dating
on him.
her. Did you become aware that even subsequent to the divorce, there was ongoing litigation pending?
Yes.
Did you know Dan Markel?
I met Professor Markel. I did not know him. I probably spent 10, 15 minutes in his presence across the course of that relationship.
And were you specifically familiar with the litigation concerning Wendi Adelson relocating with her children to South Florida?
Yes, that was a topic of conversation for sure.
If you know, did Wendi want that relocation to take place?
Yes, on our second date, the topic of relocation and being stuck in Tallahassee came up, and the date was ended abruptly when she went to the bathroom, returned with tears in her eyes, and just left the date because she was so upset. That was about two and a half months after it was denied.
All right.
And it continued to be a topic, but that's.
But that issue seemed to be specifically what was upsetting her on that day.
Definitely was. She left a group date suddenly because it came up.
All right. And did she have family in South Florida?
Yes.
And what family was that?
Well, her brother, Charlie Adelson, Harvey Adelson, her father, and Donna Adelson, her mother, were the ones primarily that I heard about.
Were you also familiar with the litigation seeking to limit the exposure of Wendi Adelson's young sons to her mom, Donna Adelson?
Yes, in spring of 2014, yes.
And did you observe Wendi to be taking that filing seriously? Did she seem stressed or worried about it?
I mean, every time they just zoom in on Ruth Markel, Dan Markel's mother, it's just the face of grief. Ditto Phil Markel. It's so sad. Like I said, these wounds don't heal.
Every filing she took seriously, and she was stressed. I had reported to TPD that every time a motion was filed, it affected our relationship because she's very upset.
During the time that you were in a relationship with Wendi, did you have an occasion to meet her family members in South Florida?
I did. Well, I met her parents mostly up here. So I met Donna and Harvey Adelson probably 8 to 12 times up here. I met the defendant down in South Florida one time.
All right, so you only met Charlie Adelson one time.
That's correct.
When was that?
That was the evening of March 11th, 2014.
And had you already met the parents several times at that point?
Yes, probably 6-8 times at that point, maybe more.
So they came here quite frequently.
Yes.
What about Catherine?
So Donna Adelson on the jailhouse calls with her son, Charlie Adelson, denies that she met Jeffrey Lacasse so many times. She says she met him once. Between Donna and Jeffrey Lacasse, maybe 7 or 8 times is maybe a little too much, but I would err on the side of Jeffrey Lacasse over Donna Adelson. She says she met him once. I find that doubtful with how often they visited.
Catherine Magbanua, did you meet her?
She was present at the dinner that I attended on March 11th, where it was myself, the defendant, Wendi Adelson, and her went to dinner that evening, March 11th.
You're saying the defendant. Do you see the person in the courtroom
Yes,
that you had dinner with? Who's that?
that is Charles Adelson, known to me as Charlie.
Could you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
Yeah, he's sitting in the center of the defense table, wearing a light blue tie and a navy blue sports coat.
All right. And so Catherine Magbanua, how was she related to this family or affiliated with the family?
I was introduced to her as Charlie's new girlfriend, essentially.
And was it your understanding that this was the first time that Wendi was meeting Catherine Magbanua as well?
That was my understanding. She was excited about Catherine Magbanua, and that was my impression, yes.
All right. So anything unusual happened at the dinner?
Well, at the dinner, Miss Magbanua mentioned that she had I guess it was her ex-common law husband, who had a criminal history that sounded very serious, and I did raise my eyebrows at that.
Did Charlie Adelson seem disturbed or upset by Catherine Magbanua mentioning that?
I don't recall him seeming disturbed, no.
All right. What about after dinner? Where did you go next?
We went to Mr. Adelson's home, and we sat in his hot tub and had a few drinks and talked for a little while.
Who's the we that sat in the hot tub?
Yeah, myself, Wendi Adelson, Charles Adelson was in the hot tub for a while, and his then roommate, Dr. Jerome Obed.
All right. So Dr. Obed was living with Charlie Adelson at that time?
That was my understanding. He was his roommate, yeah.
All right. And where was Catherine Magbanua at that time?
She did not accompany us back to the house.
In the hot tub, did the defendant make some statements that were of interest in this case?
Yes.
What were those?
Judge. Objection, motion in limine. Approach.
Okay, let's move past this.
Adelson in the hot tub mention anything about having connections to a criminal element?
Yes, he did. He mentioned having contacts on both sides of the tracks, meaning dentists, lawyers, professional class people, but he also had people he knew that were a criminal element, yes.
And did you get more specific about anything about these people that are the criminal element?
He mentioned specifically, I repeated it to TPD, about Cuban neighborhoods where you might find that criminal element.
Okay, so he had connections to those type of people.
That's what he said,
And
yes.
what was the context of this? Was he just seemed scared about it, worried about it, or something else?
Seemed to be bragging.
I want to ask you about a meeting with Wendi at a coffee shop that occurred on June 4th, 2014. Do you recall that?
I do.
What happened at the coffee shop?
We went to the Red Eye Coffee Shop to have coffee, just to meet midday, and Miss Adelson canceled a trip that we had planned for July 11th to 17th to go see my parents, which was a big deal in the relationship, and she abruptly canceled it.
Did she offer an explanation as to why she needed to cancel the trip?
Not one that made sense. She said that she feared that we would not get back in time, and she emphasized, had to be back on the 18th to pick the kids up out of school, which would have been July 18th, 5 p.m., is my understanding. And I couldn't fathom why in the summer going through Atlanta, you wouldn't be able to get back in time. It didn't make any sense to me.
So she was worried you could be delayed and she wouldn't be able to pick the kids up.
Right. And we had people who could babysit. It didn't make any sense at all, but that was what she said. That day was very important.
All right. And so that occurred on June 4th.
It did.
If you listen to his police interviews, he says it's like there was like a drumbeat that they were like moving towards something, towards that date. He said that date meant something to me before I knew, what was going to happen. I'm sure he regrets that he didn't go to the police, but what are you going to go to the police and say? My girlfriend's acting strangely. If you haven't put this together yet.
All right. Did you see her later that evening?
I did. I went to the house to hang out with her and her children.
And is that her residence on Aqua Ridge?
Yes, ma'am.
And how was she that night? This is June 4th, right?
It is.
Okay.
She was a nervous wreck to the point where she was sick to her stomach. Asked me to get to her house as soon as possible. She was in that much distress. And she didn't have food poisoning or flu or anything obvious. She was just a nervous wreck. So I went to her house, immediately went to the store to get her Pepto-Bismol and a couple of things from the convenience store. I have the credit card receipt, is why I recall that so specifically.
And did you have any idea why she's acting? I assume this is unusual for her.
It was fairly unusual. The degree of severity was definitely unusual. But that whole week, June 4th to 9th, she was very nervous. So.
And she didn't tell you it was because killers were in Tallahassee to kill Dan Markel, did she?
No, I was stunned away to find out that there was hitmen in town at the time.
Okay.
The thing that makes him such a good witness is the same reason that if it's true, let's just put it that way, it could not be true, the idea that Jeffrey Lacoste was going to be the fall guy. It's certainly interesting that his car looked a lot like the hitman's car, that Wendi Adelson was really interested in the trip that he was going to take that morning that would have moved him right by the crime scene, taken him right by the crime scene right after the murder had occurred. And it's also the Adelson's disgust, specifically Donna's disgust with Jeffrey Lacoste, that makes me think that he may have been the fall guy. She really offended at the idea that he says that he met them so many times, when I really do think he met them more than once. I don't think he's going to make that up. If he met them, it has to be more than once. But the thing that makes him such an excellent witness is that he was obsessed with Wendi Adelson, so that during the time that he's with her, he's analyzing and going over every little detail of their relationships with his friends. And so he's going to remember these details really well. So it makes him such a strong witness. It's the same reason why if he was picked to be the fall guy, he was picked for that same reason, that, oh, look, he was so obsessed that he killed Dan. It never has made sense to me that he would kill Dan Markel, her ex-boyfriend. Or ex-husband, excuse me. Why would that? Maybe as an act of heroism, he's going to save Wendi, and then Wendy's going to run back into his arms. He's killed it just says so much about the Adelson's view of this murder, that why would Wendi run back into the arms of a man who's just murdered her ex-husband and permanently damaged her children? But they never think about the damage to her children. So it's kind of telling in that way. But during the time that he was dating her, he was obsessing over every little detail of their relationship. So he's going to remember it. So the reason that he was picked is, again, the same reason why he's such a good witness in this case, among other things, besides being psychologically perceptive and intuitive.
So let's go forward a little bit to this TV situation. Do you know anything about Wendy's TV being broken?
I do.
And when was the TV broken, if you know?
Between June 11th and 18th, I think it's closer to the 11th, but 100% in that week.
And how do you know it was in that week?
Because we rented a movie, How to Train a Dragon 2, to give the kids a special movie night. And I have text messages where I'm discussing having seen the movie by the 18th with friends.
So you were able to refresh your memory?
Yeah, I was able to
by going
refresh
through
my-
those?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So do you get the movie or?
Well, it's back in the day. It was Redbox. So I rented a DVD from a Redbox. It was 2014.
All right. And go over there with the movie and what happens when you arrive.
I walk in the door and Miss Adelson asked me to look at her television because there's something wrong with the television.
And what was wrong with the television?
Well, I turned it on and I was immediately confused because it really shouldn't have been a question. As soon as you turn the TV on, it's been struck by an object and is damaged and basically unusable.
Can you explain what the damage looked like?
Yeah, it looked like somebody stood in front of it, took their fist and hit it like that was my first impression.
It's like kind of like a shatter mark with spiders.
Yeah, there's like an impact crater, and then there's out from that and it's all pixelated and distorted, which makes it very difficult, or really no one would watch this TV unless you had to. And I had second thoughts about that. I looked around the room, maybe the kids broke it. So I looked all around the room and it didn't seem plausible that the children broke it. They're very small. This object had to be kind of heavy. I'd thrown a ball around with them. I just couldn't see how the kids could have done it.
But you didn't see how it got busted.
I didn't see it. I didn't know for sure. And I didn't know we'd be discussing this in a murder trial. So I didn't investigate further or think about it very much, to be honest with you. I just thought, okay.
Were there other TVs in the house?
There was a TV in the back bedroom, a similar make and model that we had watched television with the kids before on that TV before. So yes.
Is that where you watched the movie that night?
No, I went to go hook up the DVD player in the back room. Miss Adelson insisted that it would not work and actually stopped me from even trying.
It's so telling. It's so telling and so representative of how Wendi Adelson considers her children's feelings. So here's a night that's supposed to be a special treat for her kids, movie night. And because Wendi needs everybody to remember that the TV's broken, that they all have to, not only she's going to show Jeffrey Lacasse so that she has to verify her alibi that she needed this TV fixed. So it's very important that everyone remember that this TV was broken, that she'd rather have her children's special treat night ruined for her, for this sick reason that she needs to back up her alibi, than actually say, okay, everybody's noticed that it's broken. And I mean, it's not good enough that Jeffrey Lacasse would remember hooking it up in the other room. No, she's going to make her kids watch it. In case they ask her kids, they're going to remember this miserable experience. They might not remember if a good experience of watching the TV in the other room, but they're going to remember a miserable experience of watching it for an hour and a half, hour, 40 minutes, however long How to Train a Dragon 2 is. It's just so telling. I mean, her needs come first, and she's happy to make her children suffer to get the things that she wants. So, I mean, I agree with Jeffrey Lacasse that she's most likely, like most of the people that I talk about on this channel, a psychopath, which means they're also a narcissist. All psychopaths are also narcissists. Not all narcissists are psychopaths, but it's so telling that she has no empathy for her own children. and the suffering she's causing them. And I know it's not a big deal, like one movie night, but these are the kind of things that you live for as a kid.
So thought that was very odd, but I didn't want to argue. And it's her house, her TV, her kids. So I said, okay.
So did you watch the movie on the broken TV?
Yeah, we gave the kids movie night where we watched a movie on a broken television that was distorted enough that you could follow what was happening, but the kids are whining and crying the whole time. And I wasn't whining or crying exactly, but I was tempted to because it was pretty frustrating. And I just didn't understand, what was going on. And of course, I had related that this TV is broken, it's unwatchable, it's not covered by warranty, you're gonna have to get a new TV. And I offered to go do that for her anytime she wanted. She's a busy single mom. I'll run by Best Buy, get you a new TV. It was not like a 80-inch TV or something that was really that luxurious. It was a TV like you'd see in a dorm room. So we could have replaced it right away.
All right. Did you end up getting a new TV?
No, she turned me down several times on that offer. And again, it's her house. I tried to respect her boundaries. And I said, oh, okay. But it was inconvenient because after dinner, it's nice to be able to put the kids in front of that TV while you clean up the dishes and stuff. And it sat there being an inconvenience for a while.
All right. I want to ask you about when is Ms. Adelson's birthday?
April 22nd.
Okay.
Earth Day.
I've got this out of order. Let's skip over that for now and go to the big
Or 2 days after Hitler's birthday.
fight in June. Ms. Adelson mentioned that there was a big fight toward the end of June. Do you recall that?
Yeah, that's the weekend of June 27th, 28th.
Where were you when that fight occurred?
We were in Gainesville. Miss Adelson accompanied me for a work trip, and we had that scheduled for a while. And she accompanied me on a work trip, and we ended up having a pretty big argument Saturday night in the hotel.
And did that have to do with you accusing her of seeing other men?
That was one of the issues. There'd been a lot of tension bubbling. That was the major issue. But just to give that some context, I suspected very strongly she was seeing other men. Of course, your office had confirmed recently to me that there was multiple online active dating accounts the whole time we were supposed to be exclusive. But just to give context to that, that was combined with Wendi promising me the world in June, talking about me moving in. Shouldn't get a Jeep. You should get a car. The kids' car seats will fit in. The kids should start calling you daddy was the most outrageous one and so she's like throwing herself at me over the top in a way that felt totally disingenuous and fake. And at the same time, I think she's seeing other guys. So it just kind of boiled over. I tried to have like a serious, honest relationship conversation with her, and that didn't go very well.
So you were kind of, at least up until all of this started happening, you were kind of full steam ahead, and it seems like she was a little stop and go, hot and cold. Is that?
It was a roller coaster, is what I would say.
Right. And then, of course, see, psychopaths can only really mimic emotion, but they're very good at summing up people's needs and wants. So she keyed in and profiled Jeffrey Lacoste as someone who wanted a family very badly. My understanding is he married now? Or is he already divorced? Who knows? Who knows in this day and age?
And I had felt since April that I was perhaps being strung along. I had that intuition. I couldn't fathom a reason why you would string a guy along like that. It didn't make any sense at the time.
All right. So we're in June, like 28th range. Okay. When do you come back from Gainesville?
The morning of the 29th, after this fight or this argument, we drive back. We drive back to Tallahassee. I had another ride back, and I offered to take that other ride if the fight was that bad, because we could have broken up after this. That was, but she wanted to ride back with me.
You rode together.
Yeah, we rode together.
All right. So you rode back together, and then was she leaving that day?
I believe it was I thought she picked up the kids the next day from Professor Markel's house, and that's when she met Amy Adler, and that was a big deal to her.
Amy Adler was Dan's girlfriend at the time.
Yes.
That's interesting. That's the first time I've really keyed in on that. So meeting Amy Adler, who is really a beauty. Apparently she's married and divorced after this, after Dan Markel's death. She's John Adler. He's a potter, interior design. You can buy his couches and all sorts of interior design things. He's like a empire, basically. He's married to De Noonan, who did the windows for Barney's, these very famous windows. Barney's like was a high-end store in New York, and their windows were very famous, very clever windows, especially around Christmas time. Incredible. So Amy Adler taught at NYU law for artists. I think she still does. Beautiful, smart, accomplished. And so is Wendi, much more so than Wendi, and has, of course, the Adler name, which is pretty much attached to this famous sibling. I don't think Wendi could compete with her. And I think this sure made Wendi hugely jealous. So here's Jeffrey Lacoste saying it was a huge deal. Let me just go back a second or two. It's a big deal for her to meet Amy Adler.
I thought she picked up the kids the next day from Professor Markel's house, and that's when she met Amy Adler, and that was a big deal to her.
Amy Adler was Dan's girlfriend at the time?
Yes.
Okay. So it's at some point after the big fight and the return from Gainesville, does she leave to go to South Florida?
Yeah. I know. A day or two later, she definitely leaves to return to South Florida. She's in South Florida by July 1.
All right. And was that the trip that she was there for her dad's birthday?
That's correct.
Did you attend the dad's birthday?
No, I was never invited to the dad's birthday.
All right. And were you aware what the big gift was for dad's birthday?
No.
All right. So when did you see Wendi next after she leaves to go to South, or I guess after you returned from Gainesville?
So during that 2-week period, we're exchanging emails, texts, long phone calls, video chats with the kids. Things are up and down, but it seemed like it's probably going to be okay. That's the impression I was given by Miss Adelson. Or I was being strung along 2 more weeks. But I see her again on the 13th when she comes back in town and is excited to have a date with me. So we had a date.
All right. So now we're at July 13th, 2014.
That's correct.
So within a week of the murder.
That's right.
Okay. Tell us about your interactions with her that day.
Yeah, we went to dinner and a movie, and we returned to our house on Aqua Ridge.
All right. And did she tell you anything asked to tell you anything in confidence that evening?
Yeah, in a very serious tone of voice. The topic of conversation as we're walking up to the house is about relocation, being stuck in Tallahassee, and Danny, as the conversation always was about Danny Markel. She said in a very serious tone of voice, "Can I tell you something in confidence?"
Objection, Your Honor. Motion eliminated.
Now, Ms. Kappelman, understand the court's rulings.
I think I do, Judge, but asked to approach.
Please approach.
So he's going to say that, I believe this has to do with the hitman. Am I wrong? Am I misremembering the testimony? For some reason, I'm remembering that testimony happening indoors, not outdoors. But the defense, whatever this is, the defense is desperate to keep this out. Let's see who wins. Charlie Adelson looks extremely nervous. He's got the Robert Durst blinking going on. And what a horrible thing to have to be a witness in a murder trial. mean, you put yourself out for all sorts
Okay,
of
please step
scrutiny.
back outside.
Oh, so he's going to come in as a rebuttal witness. I think that's how this works.
Everyone can be seated. Bringing up both the motion in limine and the prior order that have been issued on this.
Does anyone mind if we watch this part? I'm not remembering this very well.
Matter.
Hope you don't mind this. All right, well, we're split with some people saying yes, some people saying no, but I just want to see what they're trying to throw out of his testimony. I can't remember. I assume this would be my brother hired a hitman. Let me know if you know.
The ruling that was made as to the defense motion in limine concerned the state eliciting this as a part of its case in chief. However, Mr. Rauschbaum at this point, Ms. Adelson has specifically denied making this statement. Why is this an improper ground for the state to explore this on impeachment?
It's still hearsay, Your Honor. It's double hearsay. It's not done to
All sorts of matters that otherwise would be inadmissible can become impeachment.
Judge. If Dr. Adelson, Charlie Adelson, made that statement to Mr. Lacoste and he denied it, he could impeach him. They're impeaching another witness. That's not allowed. That's number one. Number two, I brought up
The
this
impeachment
issue,
of one witness's testimony through another is not allowed.
but they're impeaching her to go to his statement. They're stuck with her answer. They could have kept on cross-examining her of why they thought her answer was wrong. They can't now backdoor it through hearsay in another witness. That was the whole point of the motion.
Okay, so Wesley loves Octoberfest. Says, hey, Roberta, Mod Squad, and chat peeps. I can only drop in for a few minutes. Oh no, Wesley. I hope everyone is well. Thank you, Roberta. Thank you, Wesley, for supporting the channel. I appreciate it. As you know, this is a listener-supported channel, so I appreciate it. Can't do it without you guys.
Similarly, Judge, we brought this issue up first thing this morning, sidebar, because if they were going to be allowed to do it, I was going to ask Ms. Adelson other questions on this issue. They said they weren't going to do it. So I didn't ask her those questions. And I didn't ask her those questions because I didn't want to open the door to it. And I can't call Ms. Adelson back as a witness because she has a Fifth Amendment right and I can't give her immunity. I brought this up for this very reason. She denied the statement yesterday. That's why I brought it up today. They can't backdoor a double hearsay statement based on a denial by that witness. Can't do it.
Ms. Kappelman.
But it's not hearsay, it's offered for impeachment. Ms. Adelson was specifically drawn to the time and place of this statement and asked if she made it. She denied it. This witness heard her make the statement. So it's not admissible to impeach her testimony.
This is not an insignificant fact or an immaterial one. Mr. Rauschbaum, if you wish to find some authority, I will give you 5 minutes to look if you have anything to argue as to this matter. Ms. Adelson has denied making the statement. She can be impeached through other witnesses regarding this matter.
Judge.
I will give you an opportunity to find some authority. If there's something more specific you can point me to other than what you're arguing right now.
Judge, I brought this up this morning so that I could front it with Ms. Adelson, and we were told, you were told, that they weren't going down this path. If I'd been told something different, I would have done something different that I can no longer do. It's precisely why I went sidebar first thing in the morning.
What is your response as to that portion of the argument, Ms. Kappelman?
I don't know that that's a legal argument. I was asked if I was intending to offer double hearsay. I said I would never be offering hearsay without an exception.
I assume he's making this on fairness grounds, which goes to this would have changed his strategy of how he examined the witness.
I don't know what to do about that, Judge. I can't help Mr. Rashbaum have better strategy. I was real specific with the witness to get that denial, so I'm not sure why the issue wasn't raised at that point.
Judge, I was really specific this morning that the double hearsay related to my motion to eliminate related to Jeffrey Lacoste. You knew what I was talking about.
Hold on. My ears work perfectly well. You don't have to raise your voice. Make your argument, please.
Everyone sidebar knew exactly what I was talking about. And we were told, Ms. Kappelman told you as an officer of the court that she was not going down that road. And so when Ms. Adelson was on the stand, I stayed away from it, not to open the door to it. She knew exactly what statement we were talking about. If you tell me you didn't know what statement I was talking about, I'll sit down. I was very specific. I was very specific that it was the double hearsay statement related to Jeffrey Lacoste that we filed our motion in limine on. I was very specific that it applied to this and also the Juvia dinner. Those were the words specifically out of my mouth back there, because when she asked the questions of Ms. Adelson, which were completely appropriate, I thought she might be going down this path. And so the first thing in the morning, we went sidebar so I could stop the charade, so that if the court were going to allow it to come in, I would handle it. She stayed silent. And I've been jumping up and down to try to prevent any possible mistrial twice, and still no mention of it. It's completely unfair, completely improper, and it denies him his constitutional right of due process.
Again, that's why I raised the issue. This goes to the fairness aspect of it. We'll take a brief 5-minute recess. If you have any authority you wish to present, I will entertain it further.
Now he's got to run and try to find case law in 5 minutes. Oh boy. Talk about pressure. All right. Okay, here we are.
Ms. Adelson, by drawing her attention to what I was on the record,
Go ahead.
it's already on the record, we were at sidebar. What I was asked, my understanding of what I was asked is, was I intending to introduce any hearsay within hearsay through Mr. Lacoste? And my answer was that I would not introduce any hearsay within hearsay without exceptions. I think it was clear what I was intending to do was set up an impeachment through Ms. Adelson by drawing her attention to the specific date and time of the statement and asking her specifically if she made the statement, which she denied. I find it hard to believe that that doesn't alert the defense, in fairness, that that's what I'm intending to do. And that's what I did in the last trial successfully, which the defense in this case was in attendance at. So I think it's unfair to the state, but I understand Your Honor's ruling and we'll be ready to proceed.
Please bring in the witness so we can go through the proffer. Our words are stock and trade. If you are uncertain, Ms. Kappelman, as to what Mr. Rauschbaum was raising, we probably should have clarified it at that point.
Yes, sir.
Please bring in the witness.
I think so.
Also, so we don't have to go through this again, Mr. Rauschbaum, as it pertains to the other rulings in the defense's motion in limine that the court has previously addressed. Although they may not be certain rulings pertain to the state's ability to present as substantive evidence. You understand this does not affect their ability to present it as impeachment as it pertains to all of the items that have been ruled on previously. June and Chimda, meaning everything that we've been previously addressing through these motions.
Well, they still have to follow the extrinsic evidence rule, collateral evidence rule.
My point being, something that cannot come in substantively can still be impeached with. You understand this?
Can, yes.
I'm not saying it's necessarily going to happen.
Right.
But so we're not doing this song and dance about any other matters. All right. If we need to have sidebars and you're attempting to clarify something, if you're asking specifically as to impeachment, you need to be specific as well.
Fair enough, Your Honor.
Ms. Dugan, please bring in Mr. Lacoste.
I really like Judge Everett. He's such a calm, seems pretty fair judge. Keeps control over his courtroom, unlike other judges we've seen recently.
You may be seated, Mr. Lacoste. Ms. Kappelman, you may finish your sequence of questions on the topic you were starting.
Mr. Lacoste, when we broke, we were discussing a statement made to you by Wendi Adelson on July 13th, 2014 at her residence here in Tallahassee. Do you recall which statement?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and what was that statement?
After asking to speak to me confidentially, she told me that last summer that Charles Adelson had looked into all possible options to take care of the Dan Markel problem, including hiring a hitman, and that it would cost about $15,000. I revised the amount. I said potentially that could have been $50,000. I'm unsure of the amount. The rest of the statement, very confident it's true.
So you weren't sure whether she said 15 or 50.
Right.
But she didn't say 15 or 50. She said one or the other.
She said one number that I thought was 15 when I talked to TPD, and I later thought that could have been 50.
Okay, I'm with you. And this statement was made in what context? What was her demeanor?
Well, she asked to speak to me confidentially. She was dead serious about it. It was a chilling statement. I had a reaction to it. My stomach flipped, a little scary, a little weird. So it was a very serious statement she's making.
So clearly not a joke.
No, it was not a joke. There are other jokes in that domain. This was completely distinct and discrete from any joke. This was not funny.
And this statement was made within 5 days of Mr. Markel's murder by a hitman?
That's correct.
It's so interesting. You know, you look at Charlie Adelson wiping his brow, and I've done a few shorts on how much after his conviction, Charlie Adelson to Donna Adelson, complaining to Donna Adelson, blamed Donna Adelson for her crazy emails and her TV talk, but he blamed Wendi for leaving her alibi, for not being able to help herself, for driving by the crime scene. Check out my new short. By the way, I just put out a new short today. Pretty happy with it. It'll be, I guarantee you, it'll be worth a minute, and I think it's a minute and a half. But let me see. Let me see if I can show this. I just want to show the shorter version. Here it is.
You know, if you,
Oops, sorry.
if you said, what is, by having Wendi show up at the crime scene, it means I had to have known about it, and that's why Wendi knew about it. That's why she was showing up. People don't just randomly show up at their ex's house for no apparent reason. I mean, did she drive that route? Yeah. Was she going to turn on that street? Yeah. Yeah, she did. What brought her to that place and time? Like,
Crazy. I mean, it's crazy. It's what you said to me the other day. It's like a movie crazy. Like, wait a minute. These things can happen. These are coincidences. It's just a crazy coincidence, but it happens.
but what brought her to that place and time at that time on that day? Not an hour before, an hour after.
Yeah.
Like, it would have had to be, like, not 5 hours later. You know, if you said, what is, by having Wendi show up at the crime scene, it means.
So they agree that Wendi couldn't help herself. And now I wonder if he's thinking, oh, a Wendi again. Why did she have to open her big mouth? What was the point? I mean, I think for Wendi, the point was when I think she loved the idea that when Jeffrey Lacoste, if this is true, that Jeffrey Lacoste was the fall guy, she loved the idea of him saying all these things and not being believed, being dragged away like a madman, and knowing that it was the truth. But really, I mean, she was perfectly happy to have him falsely accused, falsely convicted of the crime that her family did, if possible. I mean, you know, it really toughens you up to when Charlie and Donna Adelson complain about being LOL, falsely accused or falsely convicted. They were perfectly happy to see a innocent guy go down for their crime. And I love that we just had a Wendi, Charlie, and Donna. I hope they weren't just trolls, just trolling in here. I really hope they really were a Adelson family supporter. They're like unicorns. We see them so seldom.
And was this said in any way in the context of the relocation issue?
Well, what preceded her saying that was a discussion of under what circumstances could she or would she leave Tallahassee, and she stated that the only way to leave Tallahassee was if something happened to Danny. That's what led into the statement I just repeated.
All right. Thank you. That's the proffer, Your Honor.
In cross-examination concerning the subject of the proffer.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Any cross-examination as to the subject of the proffer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
The statement was chilling and serious, right?
Yes,
Did you go to the police?
I did not.
You were so scared about the statement that you didn't alert the police the next day, that night.
I did not.
Why not?
Because it was a past tense statement, and I thought Charlie was a scary guy, but it was about something supposedly he did last summer. I did not know there was a present case, a present instant threat. I did not know him and had visited Tallahassee. I didn't have the context.
So the statement comes out and you say, all right, not gonna call the police. Hey, Wendi, you want to go out tomorrow?
That's not quite how it went.
No, you didn't try to go on a date with her the next day?
No, we did go on a date the next day, and then she cut off all contact without barely talking to me on that date.
So it's odd that, I mean, it's not about Wendi. It's not like Wendi said, I hired a hitman. It's her brother. He wasn't dating her brother. I mean, this is a little bit of a problem with Dan Rashbaum's cross here. I mean, you're really not going to date someone because they have crazy family members or dangerous family members? Maybe. Especially if you're madly head over heels the way Jeffrey Lacasse was for Wendi.
So I didn't have a lot of time to process it, but it was a shocking enough thing that it took a day or two to process. Also, I had repeated that statement to a friend of mine before the murder, and I didn't get a reaction from her like, this is shocking. I saw feedback from a friend who would verify that I made that statement before the murder, and she didn't say, oh, geez, you should call the police. So it wasn't just me. There was another person that I consulted with because it freaked me out, and we decided I decided after talking to her, it was past tense. So probably not that dangerous, and we were really wrong. Maybe I should have called the police.
So Charlie Adelson lets you know that he's has friends in the criminal element, the Cuban criminal element, right?
Yes.
And you know that there's a heated dispute between this family. You testified to it today, a heated dispute.
Yes.
About relocation, about divorce.
Well, the dispute's no longer about relocation, but yes, there's an ongoing litigation for sure.
Right. And then Wendi Adelson tells you that this man, who is part of the criminal element, really looked into hiring a hitman.
She did say that.
And you thought, I'm not going to go to the police on that. That's your testimony, right?
That's the decision I made. It didn't really cross my mind because of the past tense nature of it. And I consulted with a friend, bounced it off of her before the murder. And neither one of us thought, oh, geez, let's call the police. So it's possible that Charlie is so dangerous that I should have called the police. Yeah, but I did not.
And so at this point in time, your relationship with Wendi Adelson was really bad, right?
It was hard to tell.
It's hard to tell that it was really bad?
It was a roller coaster ride constantly because you referred to the next night, the next day, the 14th. On the 14th, I got a warm, inviting call from Wendi Adelson, eager to spend time with me. Maybe trying to distract me. I don't know. But
okay. Well, we're going to get to the distracting part.
Yeah.
Because that's what this is all about.
But it wasn't the relationship was not in a great spot. I'll concede that to you.
So
yes.
Your testimony is that when this woman is about to break up with you, when she is avoiding you, when you have just been caught going through her phone and her
how's she avoiding me?
Well,
Mr. Lacoste, you're not here to ask questions.
Yes, sir.
Your testimony is that when you are on the outs with her, which the record will show you were during this time period, that she confides in you the most serious, the most important thing in her life. That's your testimony, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
She has a history of blurting out things that aren't in her own self-interest.
Judge, I would ask that to be stricken from the record. It's unresponsive.
This is just a part of the proffer. And if you've reached the end of your cross-examination on the proffer section, we do need to move on.
That's fine, Your Honor.
Mr. Lacoste, or actually Ms. Kappelman, the court's ruling remains the same. You're not to inquire further as to this subject matter. We will revisit later if it comes to it.
Yes, sir.
Please bring back in the witnesses, or the jurors. Okay.
Wait, so that was all out of the ear of the jurors? Oh, wow.
That's the next one.
Well, one moment, because I don't know what the celebration dinner is all about.
It's in the same motion in limine, Judge.
Bring it back up. Number 2, I believe this just concerns statements. It doesn't say anything about celebration.
All rise, jury entering the courtroom.
One moment.
Back up.
Where is the celebration dinner covered in your motion?
It's in the same motion in limine regarding the hearsay statements. There were several of them.
The first one was the statement that we just discussed, and the second one is that Charlie Adelson said that he went to dinner with, that she told him that Charlie Adelson said it was a celebration dinner. It's in the same motion in limine.
However, this statement is being directly attributed to your client that was heard by the witness.
No.
Mr. Lacoste, please step down again.
It's the same exact issue. It's Wendi Adelson telling him what Charlie Adelson said.
Wow. So this is Wendi Adelson telling him what Charlie Adelson said at the celebration dinner in her ear. That thing?
Cappleman response.
Yes, sir. I asked Miss Adelson about the dinner. She acknowledged there was a dinner. She did vomit at the dinner table, but denied calling it a celebration dinner or hearing Charlie Adelson call it a celebration dinner. I anticipate this witness would indicate that it was referred to as a celebration dinner.
Mr. Rauschbaum.
It's the same issue, and you ruled on this issue. It's the same motion in limine.
I'm looking at the line now. All right, Ms. Kappelman, I believe we find ourselves in the same position unless you have an argument which differentiates the television from the celebration dinner.
I think I understand what you mean, Judge. I don't have any additional argument other than this is offered for impeachment. It's not hearsay, not covered by the motion. The appropriate grounds were laid, and it's admissible as impeachment.
Do you wish to proffer the celebration dinner by Mr. Lacoste as well?
No, sir. I think my preference at this point, assuming your ruling will be the same on the celebration dinner, is to have Mr. Lacoste step off the stand, proceed with another witness, and revisit this issue after the lunch break.
Very well.
Why do I think that Wendi blurted this out about a hitman? Because she's impulsive and she wanted to tell somebody. She lies so much. Again, it's the Adelsons believe that anything that comes out of their mouth is to be believed. And they're very comfortable lying. So if someone asked her, she would just deny it. And who's going to believe her? Or Jeffrey Lacoste, the twitchy, red, nervous, comes off maybe as a little neurotic Jeffrey Lacoste. Over her, the cool, Brandeis, magna cum laude graduate, helps trafficked women, accomplished women. Who's going to believe her? They're going to believe her, right? They think that they always should be believed. The fact that the great irony of this is that most people believe Jeffrey Lacoste and no one believes Wendi Adelson's testimony. I mean, I really get excited now when I find Wendi supporters or Charlie Adelson supporters or Donna supporters. They're like unicorns. I mean, in true crime, almost every single one of my episodes, especially on my channel, I take some, strong opinions based on extensive research I do on these cases I cover. I'm happy to take the opposite side of, a PR campaign for a killer. So there's going to be a lot of killer supporters. But in this case, almost no one supports the Adelson family. So the irony is the thing that they thought would protect them has not protected them at all. Their good name, their social standing, their connections go back to the short I just put out today and the episode that it attaches to. They're very powerful connections that protected them for years and years. All the things they thought would protect them have not protected them. But what a disgusting thing to celebrate a murder or even a natural death is so gross, no matter how much you dislike somebody. To go out to dinner. I mean, the callousness off the charts.
Please bring the jurors back in. You may end your examination in front of them, and then Mr. Rauschbaum will have his opportunity. Well, actually, Mr. Rauschbaum, how long do you believe your cross-examination of the witness will take?
I'm a little
in
confused.
front of the jurors.
I'm a little confused. Are you?
The ruling is the impeachment as the celebration dinner is going to be excluded on the same grounds for now. If we need to revisit later, we will. But as to your cross-examination that will be taking place in front of the jurors on the subject matter that's already been covered, how long do you think that's going to take?
Oh, she's going to stop asking questions of this witness.
I believe she just indicated she would.
Okay. For the issues that we've dealt with just now,
prior to any proffers and sending the jurors out.
I'm not really sure, Your Honor. Probably maybe 30 minutes.
Right, let's bring them back in. You can start your cross. We'll take the lunch break and then pick up from there.
So it's interesting, you know, we like to think in true crime, and lawyers often cross on these kind of things. We like to think that murderers are totally rational and everything's going to make total sense, but sometimes they do things impulsively. They do things, I mean, there's really no good reason to kill somebody. So, you know, they'll blurt out things just because they want to, you know, I mean, it doesn't, there isn't a real kind of rational, you know, we like to, I mean, you could say, why did O.J. Simpson kill Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown on the same day he was flying out of the city when he knew a limo was going to be there to pick up? Why did he do that? Because he did, because he could, he wanted to at that time and did. I mean, there isn't, you know, this idea of like the kinds of things that Rauschbaum just cross-examined Jeffrey LaCasa on. Like, she's going to say this to you? Yeah, she is. It doesn't always follow this kind of logic of the thing you think you would do. I mean, is it in the realm of, is it in the, what I'd call the spectrum of normal human behavior? Yes. Unfortunately, like, yes, like admitting something that's against your best self, against your self-interest, best self-interest. Is that something that humans do? Yes. But the things that defense attorneys do, that is when they put up scenarios that are way off the spectrum of human behavior, of rational human behavior, and then say everyone reacts differently, like laughing, smirking during an autopsy, or those are the things that come to mind. Or saying it's all my fault when you had nothing to do with it, saying that over and over again, or confessing to the crime over and over again under no kind of circumstances for false confessions, having none of those scenarios for false confession, or very few.
Muted. Does the state have any further direct examination for this witness?
No further questions at this time.
You may cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Professor Lacoste, good morning.
Good morning.
You met Charlie Adelson one time, right?
That's correct.
It was a trip that you and Wendi took down to South Florida for a day after a spring break with the kids that she taught.
Yeah, we were in Immokalee, and then we went over to Miami, or to Fort Lauderdale and Miami just for the 11th. That's right.
And you had dinner, you said you had dinner on March 11th of 2014 at a place called Yardbird.
That's correct.
You recall Charlie was in his scrubs?
Don't recall that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
And Catherine McBanawa was at that dinner, right?
She was.
And I think you said that she was bringing up stuff about her ex, right?
Not a lot, just a little bit, but she did bring that up, and I recalled it.
Is it fair?
Tape Vault, thanks so much for the super sticker. Appreciate it.
Fair to say that she was pushing for information at that dinner?
From who?
From Miss Adelson?
I don't recall that.
Well, was she trying to get Miss Adelson to talk about her ex-husband?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall there being a lot of discussion at the dinner about Professor Markel?
Don't recall a lot. It always came up for a minute. It came up in the context of Wendi Adelson's book. Most of it was Charlie talking.
You recall Katie asking questions about how the divorce was going, how he was treating her, where he was. You don't recall any of that happening at the dinner?
I do not recall any of that.
The only thing you recall is her saying something about her ex-husband.
That's what stuck out. We've had previous legal proceedings where I also could not, I can't, it's a dinner 9 years ago. I don't remember a lot of detail of it. And it wasn't long either. It was just an hour.
Isn't it likely that she was talking about her ex-husband and her problems because there was talk about exes?
I mean, that's pure speculation on my part. I don't recall. I do recall some other things we spoke about, but I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about them or not. They involved your client. They were, so I'm in my head trying to figure out how much space was there for other stuff. As I previously testified, most of it was Charlie telling us stories, kind of.
But Katie was clearly wanting to bring up the topic, as you said, about her family situation, correct?
Yeah, but I'm talking about 2 or 3 sentences here. I only recalled that in retrospect because there was a murder, and I thought, oh, geez.
And it was important enough for Ms. Kappelman to ask you about that, right?
Okay, yeah.
Right? So you remember her talking about her family situation, right?
Yeah, and I also remember Charlie talking about a party he'd recently attended. There's a few other random things.
Fair enough. I didn't ask, with all due respect, I didn't ask you that.
Okay.
Let's just stick with the family situation.
Okay.
So Catherine McBanawa was talking about her family situation, correct?
For 2 or 3 sentences, she mentioned that Sigfredo Garcia, not by name, and the tensions with him. Yes.
Okay. You say that Charlie talked in the hot tub or the pool about having connections to the criminal element. That's what your testimony was, right?
Yes, starting with my initial statement to TPD. Yes, sir.
And you're talking about your statement to TPD after the murder, right?
3 days after the murder.
And after you thought Wendi Adelson was trying to frame you for the murder, right?
I didn't think that in that interview.
Okay.
It took me some time to process.
You're aware that you were called in as a suspect for the murder, right?
Yes.
Okay. And after that point in time is when you gave that statement to TPD regarding what Mr. Adelson said. Just yes or no?
After I was called into the police station?
Yes.
Yeah, that's when I gave my statement at the police station.
Right. What I'm making clear is it's not like you had dinner and were in a hot tub with Charlie Adelson and you went back to Tallahassee and gave the statement then, right?
No, I would have no reason to do that.
I understand that, Professor Lacoste. I'm just trying to make it clear for the jury when you gave TPD this statement.
Yeah.
And the answer is you gave him the statement after the murder and after you were called in as a suspect on that murder.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, do you recall texting Charlie Adelson after you met with him?
I texted Mr. Adelson one time, yes.
Okay. And do you recall saying to him, "Hey, Charlie, it's Jeff," as in Wendi and Jeff. "Hey, man, thanks for your hospitality the other night. Sorry about the clusterfuck with the cab. It was great to finally meet you. I could tell how proud you are of your sister. I am too. She's really one in a million. Take care, dude, and look forward to seeing you again sometime soon." Do you recall texting him that?
I do recall texting him that.
Okay. You like hanging out with the criminal element?
It was my new girlfriend's brother who she was very close with. I've been dating Wendi seriously for 12 days. I didn't think it was right to give I was polite rather than honest. Let's put it that way. I mean.
Right. I mean, what? I mean, this is what honest testimony looks like. He doesn't have to sit back and strategize his answer. It's coming up so naturally. He's open. He's unmovable on the things that he remembers.
Let me ask the question again.
Yeah.
Do you like hanging out with the criminal element?
No, I don't do that.
Did Charlie Adelson text you or did you text him?
I texted him. I can't remember if that was solicited by Wendi Adelson or not, but I texted him.
It wasn't solicited by Charlie Adelson, right?
No, we never spoke again, though.
Okay. Actually, he texted you back.
Right, I never answered.
And he said, "It was great seeing you. I'm glad you made your flight. Hopefully we can all hang out soon."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to connect this as Donna's trial, everything around that TV is so damning for Donna. Because you have Donna's statement, the TV is about $5,000. No TVs were even close to $5,000 at that time. And then you have Donna making the appointment. And someone was just saying, bringing the Georgia should have pressed harder about the Geek Squad. But even more so, and Georgia does press, and Wendi can't remember anything about her 18-minute conversation with Charlie Adelson, where she says she was talking to Charlie Adelson about whether she should buy a new TV. This makes me laugh so hard. So the Geek Squad has told her that they can't repair it. So Wendi said she had to talk to Charlie before she decided what to do. They said it would cost more that they didn't repair it, and that she'd have to replace it. What is an 18-minute conversation then about? What would you need to talk for 18 minutes? They say I can't repair it. What should I do? It's not like an old. I mean, I could understand if it were like from the 50s, and maybe you could find some. I don't know, like repairman who has this specialty to repair really old things because it's somehow special and really well made. But it's just like what Jeffrey Lacasse describes as a TV you'd find in a dorm room.
Now, you testified that Wendi was a wreck. Hold on one second, sorry. One moment, Your Honor. I've lost my place.
Yeah, he never has his papers organized, or he never has what he needs. Rashbaum in this trial. Let's move forward. Oh, sorry about this. Crazy.
Divorce filings. You testified about some of these divorce filings on direct, correct?
Yes.
And that Wendi, you testified that Wendi was a wreck about him, right?
Yes.
That's not what you thought in the spring of 2014, though, was it?
You're questioning whether This is what I thought in spring of 2014. I noticed repeatedly her reacting to motions and litigation and getting very, very upset. I'm not saying there was never any good times, but she was very upset when he filed something.
Do you recall sending an email to Wendi Adelson in March 27th of 2014, where you tell her that she's adapting really well to unpleasant circumstances and that she needs to give herself more credit?
That sounds familiar. I would say it got increasingly worse March, April, May, June in terms of reactions to the entire situation. But I know I was sending that email. Yes, trying to encourage my girlfriend at the time. Yes.
Oh, really? It got worse. Filings in March, April, and June.
No, I don't know when the last filing was. Her reactions, not just to filings, but the entire situation. Let me clarify that. So.
Hold on a second. Would it surprise you that there weren't any filings?
No,
in May or June?
No, I'm aware of that.
Would it surprise you that there's been testimony in this courtroom that actually things got a little better?
Wendy's status didn't get better. My observations of Wendy saw her spiraling downward in that time period is what I was trying to refer to.
Do you recall that in the spring, summer of 2014, Professor Markel asked Wendy's parents to babysit for him?
I didn't know about that, or I don't recall it if I did.
I'm sure you did.
Where is he pulling that from? Is there evidence of that? Has anybody seen besides Wendy's testimony with the banana bread that Donna gave him a hug and made him banana bread that Dan Markel couldn't eat and that Dan Markel asked to babysit, Donna to babysit? I'd love to know the details of the filing, Dan Markel's filing, where he asked that Donna Adelson be only allowed supervised visits with her grandchildren because she was making such disparaging remarks about Dan Markel when that filing was compared to when this alleged babysitting event, Donna's babysitting, and Wendi describes it as the last time Donna saw Dan Markel. She gave him a hug, made him banana bread, and he asked her to babysit. I mean, am I confusing things? Let me know if you know anything about the timeline there.
Now, do you recall telling law enforcement that your impression was that Professor Markel's filing was going to fail?
Yes, I was repeating things I'd heard from Wendi Adelson. So most of that content, that was, I mean.
Sir, I'm just asking you for yes or no questions.
Okay.
Let me follow up of where you get that information from.
Okay.
I know you have an agenda.
Yes, I told police that. Yes.
Okay. So you told the police that Wendi wasn't concerned about Professor Markel succeeding with that motion.
No, she was highly anxious. She was highly anxious.
Did she think that the motion was going to be granted?
I don't think she knew. I think that's what caused the anxiety.
Didn't you tell law enforcement that your impression was that Professor Markel's motion was going to fail?
I did tell law enforcement that, yes.
And didn't you just tell the jury that that impression came from Wendi Adelson?
Well, from my interactions with her and partially my own opinion, to clarify. But yes, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
You also told law enforcement that everyone in the legal community agreed with that assessment.
I didn't speak to everyone in the legal community.
Well, let's read your interview then. And let's see if it refreshes your recollection. One moment, Your Honor. Being summoned. you don't recall being recorded where you said, and I quote, everyone in the legal community agreed with that assessment at 2:00 on 7/23/14, interview part 1 at 34:35 in the interview. You don't recall saying that?
Can you give me the date in the interview again, please?
7/23/2014, interview part 1, and 3/6/2015. You reiterated it at 34 minutes and 35 seconds into the recording. You don't recall saying that?
Vaguely, I do recall saying something like that. I'm a non-lawyer trying to figure out this situation. Getting different messages from different people.
I have no further questions right now, Your Honor.
At the time you were in the hot tub with the defendant, did you know that he was a criminal element? I mean, okay, let me rephrase it. Did you know he was conspiring to commit the murder of Dan Markel?
I had no idea.
All right, and when you were at dinner with he and Catherine McVanawa, did you know that she was conspiring to commit the murder of Dan Markel?
Had no idea.
So you didn't know when you were in the hot tub that you were hanging out with a criminal element in that regard?
No.
Nothing further.
Because we will step down, you may be recalled at some point. Members of the jury, we're going to take our lunch break at this point. Once again, I'm going to remind you not to discuss the case with each other or anyone else.
And I'm going to take a little break myself. I think the best thing to play right here is an oldie but goodie. Maybe many of you haven't seen this before, but here's an actual advertisement from the Adelson Institute. Please enjoy.
What I enjoy most about our practice is restoring a person's smile. That often changes their personality and gives them a more positive outlook on life. Our practice uses the most modern dental technology, from rotary endodontics, computer-generated ceramic restorations, digital radiographs, intraoral photography, and of course, we use nitrous oxide and oral sedation for the highest level of patient comfort and relaxation.
My name is Dr. Charlie Adelson, and I am a periodontist, owner, and co-partner with my father, Dr. Harvey Adelson, who's a cosmetic dentist. What I love about what I do is being able to restore people's smiles and change the way they chew, change the way they live, and change their self-esteem and how they think about themselves on a daily basis. When a patient comes to my office, they're being treated like family, and it's also being a team approach where the hygienist, the cosmetic dentist, and the periodontist are all working together to give them the optimal result.
My name is Jennifer Catchill. I've been coming here for about 10 years. My experiences have been very positive. The staff is very professional. I came here 10 years ago to get my veneers put on, and I have been absolutely thrilled with the results. And I can't say how wonderful and professional the staff has just been. They've been really, really caring and just amazing. I would definitely recommend this place to others. I have actually recommended for people to come here. My husband has come here as well.
My name is Quint Stevenson. I've been coming to Dr. Adelson's office for about 5.5 years now. They've been phenomenal. I'm never a big fan of the dentist, but ever since I got introduced to this office, great staff, very friendly, and I always feel like I'm taken care of well. Very professional. Every time I come here, I feel like I get the foremost from their attention from the staff, and Dr. Adelson is himself as well. So it's a great experience every time I come. I look forward to it as well. I highly recommend them.
That looks like a hostage video, doesn't it? How much did he owe to the Adelson Institute? Someone wanted to see the pictures of Donna and her scrubs. How much did he owe to the Adelson Institute to do that ad? People are very friendly here. Now on This American Life, with Ira Glass. My dentists turned out to be murderers. Okay, so Jeffrey Lacasse gets brought back in, pulled back in, because the dream team of Sarah Dugan and Georgia Kappelman never give up. And I assume he's brought back as a rebuttal witness to Wendi Adelson. So take a listen. Here's Wendi leaving the stand.
Please call your next witness.
Has anyone heard Charlie Adelson on the jailhouse tapes telling a story to Donna that sounds like Donna doesn't believe, about him smiling at a girl that turns out to be Wendi? There's always this sort of unspoken element of incest between Wendi and Charlie. How he was smiling and flirting with this girl, was smiling, and it turned out to be Wendi. He hadn't seen her in so long. Thought it was someone in the gallery that was interested in him. I mean, Donna sounds like she doesn't believe it or doesn't want to talk about it. What are people's thoughts on that story? Is that something he just made up for sympathy? Or is it a real story, or what? Or is it just... And there's Wendi goes with her advocate, was also seen in another very famous murder for hire trial in Tallahassee. I'm getting her name. Maestro, what's her name, this woman? Again. Oh, 1 second. Let me show you who I'm talking about. Denise Williams. What is this woman's name? Help me out. Honeycutt. Thank you. Who got it? Morgan Honeycutt. Thank you. A few people. Debbie Gibby. You win the prize. Kyle, thank you. I knew she had an unusual last name.
All right, Mr. Lacasse, I want to take you back to July 13th, 2014. This is going to be the Sunday before the homicide that we're here about. Did you see Wendi Adelson that evening at her residence here in Tallahassee?
Yes, after we returned from dinner and a movie, we went back to her residence. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And at some point that evening, did the issue of the relocation battle that was going on back in the summer of 2013 come up?
It did.
And is that the issue we've already touched on, which has to do with her wanting to move to South Florida with the children and filing a petition to do so in the courts?
That's right. And by extension, the issue of being stuck in Tallahassee.
Okay. And while discussing that issue, did Ms. Adelson make some statements to you about her brother, Charlie?
She did.
And what were those statements?
She asked to speak to me confidentially in a very serious tone of voice, told me that Charlie had investigated all possible options to take care of the problem of Danny Markel, including hiring a hitman, which would cost about $15,000. And I later revised that and thought maybe it was $50,000, but the dollar amount was the only thing in question. She definitely said that Charles Adelson had looked into hiring a hitman to kill Danny Markel.
And when did she say Mr. Adelson had looked into hiring a hitman?
When the relocation was denied the previous summer.
Okay. All right.
So we know that the hitman wasn't $50,000. And I don't think any hitman would kill someone for $50,000. Maybe not in Miami. I don't know. I doubt it. It would be very hard to find someone who would kill someone for $50,000. Such a low, from the Adelson family at least. Such a rich family. So it's a little bit like the way psychopaths lie. They tell some truth and some lies all mixed in. So it could have been 50. She could have told him $15,000 just to make it unbelievable sounding.
And the dollar amount, so she either said 15 or 50, you're not sure which?
That's correct.
Okay. And when she said this, what was her demeanor like?
She's very serious.
All right. So definitely not the to be confused with the TV joke.
No, I'd heard that joke repeatedly. I knew that joke. This was something very different. This was chilling, a little scary, made my stomach flip. I found it disturbing. The joke was said in a lighthearted manner, and this was not said in that way. This was serious and said confidentially.
All right. Thank you. And I want to, well, okay, I think we should go from there to the next day, which is going to be July 14th, 2014, the Monday before the murder.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see Wendi Adelson on that day?
Yeah, I can't remember if I contacted her, if she contacted me, but she was excited to see me. And I wasn't so sure about that because the night before we'd had an awkward conversation at the conclusion of that night. And I had told her that she didn't want to do this anymore, that she could just send me a text and I wouldn't, take any offense. We would just, break up. So I didn't get that text. Instead, I talked to Wendi Adelson and she was excited to see me.
All right. So what did you do?
Well, then she needed to call me back, and it went from her enthusiasm about seeing me to let's just meet at yoga tonight, go in separate cars. So there was a real shift in about 30 minutes.
Did you go to yoga?
We did. We went to yoga.
All right. And after yoga, was there a discussion about your relationship and the status of your relationship?
Yeah, a very brief one. I mean, yoga is not a great place to talk, obviously. So while we were sitting there, she seemed very cold. And I kind of got the feeling that it was over, that this was it. So as we walked to the car, I tried to talk to her about the relationship, and that didn't go well. And so I just kind of put up my hands and walked away, feeling sad that this was it.
All right. And as you walked away, was that the end, or was there more conversation after you began to walk away?
She called out to me, and I walked back towards her. And she was deeply curious. Well, let me back up slightly. During that conversation, she didn't have any interest in spending any time with me for the rest of the week. So it kind of confirmed, this is over.
Mm-hmm.
But then when she called me back, she had a series of detailed questions about what I would be doing on Friday.
And Friday is going to be July 18th, right?
Yes.
And that's the date of the homicide?
That's exactly right.
What were her inquiries of you regarding that date?
I had a trip planned to Tennessee. She was aware that I was planning to leave about 11 a.m. On Friday. I need to get to Atlanta for an early dinner. So with traffic, she knew I was departing at 11. And at the yoga studio in the parking lot, she had asked if I was still going. If I didn't go, why not? What route I would be taking a bizarre amount of interest in that trip that didn't make sense to me at the time, given that she didn't want to spend time with me.
And how does it make sense to you now?
Well, if I had left on my trip at the scheduled time that she had known about for quite a while, I would have driven pretty close to Dan Markel's house about the same time as at the murder, in a similar looking car to the suspect vehicle.
This is the most damning testimony, told just the most relaxed, truthful way. Absolutely devastating. And given that Donna was in on the planning, he's coming back for Donna's trial. So it's most damning, of course, towards Wendi because he's Wendy's boyfriend. But I mean, you can listen to this and think that Wendi didn't know that she just drove by the crime scene, up to the crime scene tape an hour after Markel was murdered, because depends on what lie she's telling. Either that she was driving by because she drove by Dan Markel's house to come to terms with the divorce, or that she drove by because it was a shortcut, or that she drove by because she didn't have a good sense of direction. And that was the route that she knew how to go on the way to the liquor store. So she told 3 different stories about why she drove by Dan Markel's house that day and up to the crime scene tape, and then did a 3-point turn, kind of like another case where an accused did actually 2 3-point turns. So pretty interesting. And you can see why the defense worked so hard to keep this out. Devastating.
What type of vehicle did you drive?
I drove a 2004 Nissan Sentra that was silver metallic gray color.
So if you had followed your original plans, you would have been passing by the Markel residence or nearby there around the same time as the killers were fleeing?
Yeah, I would have been at Capitol Circle in Thomasville. Sure, I would have been on the same cell tower, for example. I think my life could have been pretty complicated had I taken my original plans.
All right, so you didn't, I guess, take the original plans.
No, I did not. I had made a last minute decision the night before to leave Thursday night instead. I had not informed Miss Adelson about that because we weren't speaking. Actually, no, I don't know that anyone, for sure that anyone in Tallahassee knew I had changed my plans, just the people at the other end.
All right, so you were actually in Tennessee at the time of the homicide.
I was.
And when you were, we've heard you were called in as a potential suspect and apparently named by a Jane McPherson. Do you know who that is?
I do.
Okay, who is that?
That was a friend of Wendi Adelson's, and she was a doctoral student in our program. I had not much of a relationship with her, just a kind of a working relationship. We'd worked on a couple of projects together, but I didn't know her very well at all.
But someone that knew that you had been dating Wendi.
Yeah, I think she was a confidant of Wendi Adelson's. Yes, for sure.
Okay, so in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I was excluded fairly quickly because the investigators found.
My apologies. Let's go back. Sorry about that. I was just going to look up Jane McPherson on my ex. Whoop. That's what that was. See if she's still on here or if she's left to go to Blue Sky. Yeah, no, she's still on here with a mask. Here, let me show you her. Here she is, Jane McPherson with her mask. That looks a little bit like the description that Wendi gives of her trafficking characters in her social worker, teacher, activist, scholar, sudden historian. Social work should promote, not violate human rights. Views all mine. Let's see what she's tweeting about. She hasn't tweeted since May 12th. Oh, here she is. Jane McPherson. Social work histories of complicity and resistance this evening with a 20-strong international audience recording to follow. Oh, can't wait for that. From September 2024. Yeah, I don't know if she's, I guess she's very infrequently tweets, but she's still on here. Excited. Okay, there you go. Kind of a violent, what are you doing? Okay, all right. Here we go.
Yeah, I think she was a confidant of Wendi Adelson's. Yes, for sure.
Okay, so you get called in, and were you able to provide documentation to show that you were in Tennessee and not in Tallahassee?
Yeah, I was excluded fairly quickly because the investigators found Kmart surveillance footage of me at a Kmart in Tennessee using my credit card with my cell phone showing me there shortly after the murder. So it was impossible that I was the shooter.
All right. And then was there also some similar type coincidences around the time of the trip that the killers made in June?
Yes. On June 6th, I had a business trip to Gainesville, and I departed at 11 a.m. on a Friday, June 6th, which Miss Adelson would have known about by March. So really, I take 2 trips out of Tallahassee in my car the whole spring and summer semester. And both times, hitmen try to kill Danny Markel.
Okay. Any further contact with Wendi after the yoga date?
We, about 10 days after the murder, she reached out to a mutual friend and we had a few phone calls.
And during one of those phone calls, did you learn about a dinner where Wendi had become ill at the table?
Yes, I did learn about that.
And what did you learn about that dinner?
That she went out to dinner with Charlie for what he called a celebration dinner. He said something to her. She spontaneously vomited on the table.
And this would have been within how much time after the homicide?
Within a few weeks.
Was it specified that the celebration was in reference to Dan Markel's death as opposed to anything else?
Wasn't specified.
Okay. But whatever it was, that's the dinner where she vomited.
That's right. That's right.
1 moment, please. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Let's shift gears a teeny bit.
Okay.
When you and Miss Adelson were dating, there were occasions when she would drive, right?
Yes.
Did she have a good sense of direction?
I don't know.
You're aware that when she was married to, she lived in Professor Markel, she lived on the house on Trescott, right?
Yes.
And when you were dating Wendi, would she often use Trescott as a shortcut to get from one place to another?
She used it a few times when I was in the car, if that's what you're asking. She did that on June 27th, the day we departed to Gainesville at 11 a.m. on a Friday.
I think you said in one of your interviews that she would do that at least 100 times, drive by the house.
That was a figure of speech.
Okay. Now, you mentioned, we'll start with the joke, the bad joke.
Yes.
You mentioned this TV joke, how it was lighthearted, bad humor, certainly in the context of what happened, but it was a joke.
Yeah, it was dark humor, I would say, but it was clearly a joke. Yes.
And do you recall that joke being given at that Yardbird dinner?
I don't.
Could it have been given at that Yardbird dinner?
It could have, but I don't recall it. And I actually think I might remember that.
I'm sure you do.
Given what happened.
I think one thing that has been established is you believe that Wendi Adelson tried to frame you for Professor Markel's murder, right?
I'm suspicious that there was an effort made in that way, yes.
And so
that's such a good way to answer that. I mean, now, Dan Rashbaum has tried to make Jeff Lacasse an alternate suspect. So if you don't believe that Charlie Adelson was extorted by Catherine McBanoa and the Latin Kings and then put on a very reasonable payment plan, you might just go for the idea that Jeffrey Lacasse did this and note that he was a suspect and that all his testimony is a lie because he's just so, he's covering up his crime, or if you don't go for that, you just don't believe it because he's angry with Wendi.
that has affected your viewpoint, correct?
Sure.
Well, let's talk about your viewpoint. And we have to go a little bit back and repeat a couple things to put it in context. So you meet with Charlie Adelson. He tells you that he's he's friends with people in the criminal element. You say, thanks for a great meeting, correct? Send him a nice text.
The next day I sent him a text, yes.
You don't go to the police?
No, I don't go to the police.
Okay. You then hear that Charlie's made a joke many times about this TV being cheaper than hiring a hitman.
Heard the joke twice.
Okay. You don't go to the police?
No.
Then in June, at a time when Wendi Adelson is breaking up with you, she sits you down and she says, I have to confide the biggest secret in my life. That a year ago, my brother actually looked into hiring a hitman. That's your testimony here today, right?
You said in June, sir?
In June? I'm sorry, in July.
Okay.
In July.
Can you restate that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
Sorry.
I'll try to keep it lower this time. In July of 2014,
yes,
about a week before the murder, when you're breaking up with Wendi Adelson, or things are seriously not good, she sits you down and she says, Jeffrey, I've got to confide in you. My brother actually looked into hiring a hitman. That's your testimony here today.
No, she didn't sit me down. She said it in passing, and she had a habit of blurting out things that weren't in her own self-interest. But she did do that. She did make that statement. Yes, sir.
And it was chilling to you.
It was.
Unlike the joke, you thought it was real.
It was real, yes.
Did you go to the police?
I did not.
And then you break up.
Kind of. She strung me along for another week, as you know. Mostly, yeah, but kind of.
Well, the murder happens and you get called in as a suspect of the murder.
Right.
And you're upset at that point.
Yes, I was upset.
And you have a first interview with the police, and then you have a second interview with the police.
Yes.
And during the second interview with the police, you talked solely about Wendi Adelson.
Yeah, I think that's right. I felt like I needed to say they need to look at Wendi Adelson as well. That was the point of that talk. Yes, sir.
That was the point of that talk.
Yes.
And you even, you don't mention actually Charlie Adelson at all in that second interview.
I already had done so. So yes, you're correct.
So that second interview, you talked just about Wendi Adelson. And in fact, you're so uncomfortable in the interview. You tell the police that. You say, I'm so uncomfortable. And Detective Isom asked you why. Do you recall that?
It wasn't a Detective Isom.
Okay, I'm sorry. The detective who was interviewing you asked you why.
I don't, you have to remind me on that.
Well, let me remind you what you said. You said, because it's hard for me, because if she would take me back right now, I would go back to her.
Yeah, I was still under her spell to some degree. I would say I was fairly pathetic at that point. I would acknowledge that. Yeah.
So let me understand this, because I want to make sure I've got it right. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Sure.
Wendi Adelson has told you that her brother looked into hiring a hitman sometime in 2013. He gets murdered.
He does.
You go to an interview, and during that interview, you're still thinking about staying with Wendi Adelson. You don't want to talk badly about her because you still want to be with her.
You're talking about this July 23rd interview specifically?
Yes.
Yeah, it only been a week. It was still pretty fresh. I was still pretty mixed up. That's right.
Okay, well, let's see how mixed up you were after that. So then you're clearly broken up at that point. We can agree, right?
Actually, I would say yes functionally, but I've testified before that Miss Adelson and I had conversations in August where she behaved as if we were still together, and we had a conversation that finally ended it, initiated by me. Now, practically, we were broken up.
You never dated, you never went on a date with her again, right?
I never saw her again other than our
Okay.
courtroom, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Then she tells you, according to you, that my client, Charlie Adelson, says that she had a celebration dinner with Charlie, and that the celebration dinner was about the murder of Professor Markel.
I don't recall saying that last part.
But that's how you took it, right?
I worried that was the case. I told the police, and my understanding was Wendi conceded she threw up on her dinner table.
He's so natural. I mean, defense lawyers are really gifted at making people look like they're lying, manipulating their words, making their memories look faulty. It's something that drives me crazy, turning them around. I mean, this is a nationally broadcasted trial. You'd be so nervous. Your whole life is up for examination and ridicule. Oh, who would want to be a witness in a murder trial? But he's just taking this so well, just admitting, well, I was pretty pathetic. But who is going to break up with someone because of their brother? If you're mad, I mean, has anyone been madly in love? I don't know, out there in the audience. And the person had a sibling that they didn't like, or would maybe have been connected in the criminal element. I mean, come on. You're like, oh, no, can't date Wendi because of her brother. Head over heels for her, but not that brother. Never mind.
Do you know that the first time you told the police that was in March of 2015?
I do know that.
So what happened in September of 14? What happened in October of 14? What happened in November of 14? What happened in December of 14, January of 15, February of 15? You still didn't think that was important to tell the police?
I'm happy to answer that. I think you deserve an explanation on that. You may have noticed in my March 6, 2015 interview, I come in with notes, big pile of notes. Those notes are written in July of August. They're written pretty quick after the murder. I didn't come in right away, partially because I was scared of your client. I was scared of the repercussions if I went on the record further about my suspicion. So I was reluctant to come back in because I was frankly scared.
Oh, I get it. You were scared of him in August of 14, but you weren't scared of him in March of 2015.
Now I decided to man up. I decided it was a homicide and needed to man up. That's the decision I made.
Right. You weren't scared to tell him that my client had actually looked into a hitman a year earlier. That didn't scare you. You could tell him that in July.
No, I was.
Hold on, sir. Let me ask the question.
Fair enough.
In July of 2014, you told police that Charlie Adelson, you heard, actually looked at hiring a hitman. You weren't scared to tell him that.
I asked for police protection. I was scared.
You told them that in July of 2014. Isn't that correct?
Yes, in the same conversation, I said, can I get some assurances? Can I get some protection? I have something I want to tell you. I'm scared to tell you.
But you were too scared to tell them about a celebration dinner comment, and you waited almost half a year to tell them?
Well, I did wait half a year to tell them, but the notes I brought in were written right after that interview. I also wanted to get my thoughts together because I thought this day might come. And I wanted, in those first two interviews, there was a lot going on. It was pretty traumatic. So I wanted to collect my thoughts. So that's what I was doing, in addition to being pretty frightened and having to get over that idea.
Isn't it true that those comments never happened and you're upset because you believe that this family tried to frame you for murder?
Everything I'm saying is true.
I'm sure it is. May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Move to strike the "I'm sure it is" comment.
I'll withdraw it.
It's withdrawn. Please disregard, members of the jury.
I have no further comments for this.
Questions?
Or questions.
Redirect, is that okay?
This may seem like a fine point, but I want to make sure it's crystal clear. When Mr. Rashbaum was asking you about the hot tub conversation, Mr. Rashbaum said that his client said that he was friends with people in the criminal element. Is that exactly what was said?
The word I recall is he had connections and friends on both sides of the tracks.
Okay. Connections to
Criminal
the criminal
elements. And
element.
particularly, there was the Cuban neighborhood comment that I repeated to the TPD later.
Gotcha.
Actually, on July 21st, first interview, I mentioned that comment.
Okay. How many pages of notes do you have in reference to this case?
Like right now or over the last 9 years?
I mean, kind of over the last 9 years.
Yeah. I'm a researcher by training. I'm an analytic person by nature. So those 6 months was pretty obsessive. I was reviewing every text message, every email, writing. I condensed it down. I think if you watch the videotape, you would see me bring in 3, 4, 5 pages. But I would say I wrote probably 100 pages before I came in to see them the third time.
Going through every receipt.
What a shame that none of the witnesses did this in the last case that we reviewed.
Yes.
Every detail.
Yes.
Partially out of what? What motivation?
Well, pretty traumatic. So fear was part of it. Like if they can catch the people that did this, I'll be safe. That was a big piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this was a brutal murder and I wanted to see justice done. And I did not want to leave something sitting on the shelf. If I was in the possession of something that could help, I wanted to help.
And you did, isn't it true that you didn't know what was going to end up being important out of all the nuggets you dug out of the phone and everywhere
I
else?
had no idea. And I also told them repeatedly, I hope and pray this wasn't Wendi and Charlie Adelson. But just in case, here's the stuff I have.
And Mr. Rashbaum asked you about why didn't you go to the police when you learned that Mr. Adelson had in fact looked into hiring a hitman. This, just to reiterate, the statement was made the Monday before the murder, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's the statement that where Wendy's relating it to you.
Yes.
All right. So that's going to be in 2014.
Yes.
Okay. And she's making a statement about something that occurred in what year?
2013.
All right. Why didn't you go to the police with this information?
Because it was a past tense thing she was reporting. I did not sense there was a present danger. I didn't know hitmen had already visited Tallahassee. I didn't realize there was an active murder plot.
In hindsight, should you have gone to the police with this information?
Yes.
One moment, please. Nothing else, Your Honor.
So cost and stuff down, rational, you have something.
Maybe we go sidebar briefly.
Approach.
Okay, that's where I'm going to leave it for today. With that, I'm going to end this episode the way I usually end these episodes. With a victim impact letter. This is from Catherine McBanoa's trial to the Honorable Judge Wheeler. Dear Sir, I remember when I first heard the news that Danny had been shot. I was standing at my kitchen sink, washing my napping toddler's sippy cups when the call came in. In disbelief, I turned around and called my college roommate to say, "Oh my God, something's happened to Dan. I think he's dying." The horror of those moments has only been eclipsed as the true story of Dan's stalking and murder have come to light. As we have learned the gruesome, greedy details of his final moments in pain and suffering, murdered solely because he loved his boys, Link and Ben so much. I first met Dan in 1991 during the first weeks of our freshman year of college at Harvard, where we lived across the yard from one another. He formed an immediate impression, sunny, happy, charming, a smart aleck, nerdy guy who really couldn't take himself too seriously, yet had every reason to do so. He was brilliant, and he was the most personable kid I met that year. We tagged each other over the course of the next few years. Dan dedicated to the study of law, of righteousness and justice, me circling the same, but more interested in a life working towards human and civil rights. Summers in Cambridge, Dan gathered friends together, hanging out in the garden of the house he was sitting that summer. Marty Perez won't mind, he'd say. Stay a little longer. And we'd stay a little while longer, not wanting to leave his or the evening's golden glow. A few years later, Dan welcomed me to law school with the same boundless enthusiasm. He'd gone a couple of years ahead of me and was eager to convince me to try out for the law review, to advise on course, to introduce me to his friend Steve, Justice Breyer now, to debate some convoluted point of law or other. We'd adventure a bit around campus, and Dan would do his best to dispel my first year insecurities, to convince me that not only did I belong there, I could thrive. And it is this Dan that I miss the most. The big-hearted, generous, most encouraging genius who was convinced that we all had value, that we all had something worthy of contributing to not just the academy, but also the world beyond. Always kind, always doing his best to convince others to believe in themselves as much as he did. This is the Danny in my mind. I miss him so. Years down the line, after I returned from work overseas, Dan and I started catching up in some of his famous phone calls. Annie, he'd say, you've got to. And he'd go on to try to convince me to reach for my dreams, to write some article or another, apply to law professorships, to break out of my single parent shell. Because in that area, Danny came before me a few years too. His boys are just a couple years older than my own. And my ex walked out on me just a short while before his, similarly pursuing a highly contentious custody battle. We commiserated our losses, compared notes, and were astonished at the surreality of our situations. And we treasured our babies. I do not know if I have ever heard anyone treasure their time with their boys as much as Danny did. He was his old effusive self to a factor of infinity, so utterly in love with these two magical creatures he'd helped create. I cannot think of their loss. It is so great as to be actually completely unimaginable. Similarly, I do not know how Danny's wonderful family continues to bear this excruciating ordeal and this heartbreaking loss. I miss Dan incredibly. I didn't discover until years after his death that he'd considered me a freshman year crush. How blind I was. So sorry, Danny. And I have missed his encouragement, support, and words of wisdom as I have struggled to find my feet again as a single mom on my own. I never did manage to hit the academic job market. I do believe, had he not been killed, he would have gotten me there eventually. And I think often of where he'd be, where we'd all be, had he been allowed to live. I still cry for him, for his boys whom he loves so deeply, and for the collective loss we all have suffered. When I think of what could have been, sometimes the tears come when I'm at my desk. Sometimes the tears come when I'm at my sink, looking out the window, just as I was those years ago when we first heard the awful news. There never was and never will be again another like him in this world. Respectfully yours, Amelie van Brayson. Thanks, Jane, for becoming a YouTube member. Enjoy the emojis. That's what I have for today. Please hit the thumbs up on your way out. Support the channel. Links are in the description of this episode and every episode. Please check out my new short in the short section of my YouTube channel. Support the channel. You can become a Patreon member, get access to content you won't find anywhere else. Support the channel via Venmo, buy me a coffee, or just share this episode, leave me a comment, and please hit the thumbs up. All right, I'll see you tomorrow, guys, at 6. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for listening and watching with me.
What a stitch you're in. You plotted a murder 'cause you wanted to raise your daughter's kid. Tallahassee is just a stop on the way to civilization. Miami is where all the fancy people are. The TV is a Power 5. You can't get away from that. Two-toe, tay-toe, hoo-ho, you know the guy you pay, and you can't get away from that. Oh, Donna, what a stitch you're in. You thought jail was just for the little people, but now you're so blankets with the locked-up crew. You're a grandmother in lockdown, and your one-way ride to freedom you blew. What a stitch you're in. Your family are exiled from the social circles you swam in. We all know you never made